Welcome to Parenting Today's Teens, a daily podcast that provides stories, insights, and wisdom to help you gain a deeper relationship with your teen. On today's episode, Mark Gregston and Wayne Shepard talk about what to do when your teen gets lost and can't find their way back home. Let's listen in.
We're going to talk today about when our teens get lost and can't find their way home again.
That's right. You know, sometimes teens get out there on that map that we've given to them, and they start following the directions that we've given. And, you know, sometimes they make wrong turns. Sometimes they end up in places that they never really wanted to go, but they really thought they were following the map that we gave them as parents. And what they find out is, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. I'm ended up at a place that, you know, my GPS just isn't working. It's taken me to a different place.
That's where parents have to be perceptive enough to pick up on that and help them find their way home again.
Absolutely, because a child that is lost is far different than one that's being rebellious. A child that is lost is far different from one who has chosen to go on a path to get away from mom and dad. One might just be lost, and the appearance looks the same as the one that's being rebellious, but it's two different paths that they've taken to get there.
Mark, you mentioned a GPS. Wouldn't it be nice to have a GPS and just kind of clamp it on our teen and says, this is the way to go?
This is the way to go. This is how you get there. But you know what? If you don't update your GPS, it will take you off course somewhere.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I think the tendency that a lot of parents have is that they teach the map that they understand and then they know, and they forget that perhaps the landscape has changed a little bit and isn't applicable. It's like this. If you're like me, you understood Europe to look one way when you grew up in high school and pictured Europe. I look at a map of Europe now and I went, where did that country come from? Wait a minute. Where did that one go?
Things are changing.
Why does it look so different? I'm not so sure that I know what I'm talking about. If I told somebody how to follow a map around Europe, I don't think I'd be able to do it like I used to think I was able to do it. And so the directions that I give may not be the landscape that my child has to walk in. Thus, they might get lost in the process.
Well, their cultural landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. I think there's a side of it that we as parents, what we do is say, you know, I'm going to unfold this map and I'm going to help my child get from point A to point B. And these are the directions that you need to follow. When you get to this place, you turn right and you go down so many miles. And then you turn left and go down so many miles. And then you go down to another place and avoid this area because it's under construction and avoid this because there's just danger there, you know, and you give them all the directions. And then when they turn 15 or 16, you toss them the car keys and you say, okay, go. I mean, I've given you the map. I've given you the directions. Now you drive and figure it out. And then we get that phone call 2 or 3 hours later, and it's our child saying, Mom, Dad, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. And some parents do this. What do you mean you're lost? Didn't you follow my directions? Can't you listen to what I'm saying? Come on, you must have made a mistake somewhere. You've got to figure this one out. And instead of helping a child, we shame a child. And we let them know, you know what? It's not that you've done something wrong. It's maybe that there is something wrong with you. And so the tendency is a child responds back to us and says this, the directions you gave me weren't right. You know, you told me about these directions in the daylight, but you know, when it got dark, it looked completely different. You know, Mom, Dad, they've built a lot more things out here. There's things with more lights and some of the old landmarks you told me about, they aren't there any longer. You know, you didn't tell me about the oncoming traffic. You just told me how to get there. You didn't tell me about those semis that would buzz past me on the highway. You didn't tell me to look out for certain things. You didn't tell me about all the other people and the confusion that's out there. You know, a child is saying, I'm lost, but no child that I have ever met has said, you know what, I'd like to be lost when I get older.
No.
I would love to not know my way. I would love to be out there without a clue. The tendency is we shame our kids for our lack of initiative to find out a map that will work on the landscape that they have to survive in. And so the map that we give them is not always a map that will help get them to the right place. And so that's where we as parents have always got to be looking at that map that they're going to be walking and considering the new things. Keep updated. You've got to be very intentional. You can't just sit back and say, well, you know what? I know what this map looks like, and I can help anybody get there. And just rely on my old laurels to get me to a point where when my child turns a certain age, I'm going to be able to teach it to them and they'll be able to follow it. It doesn't work that way anymore.
Every parent thinks they're ready. You made it through the first 12 years after all. But then your child becomes a teenager, and all of a sudden, it's like the parenting rules changed and nobody told you what they are. Your kids completely change their interests, hobbies, appearance, vocabulary, and even their priorities and values. Some parents try to power through, continuing to parent their 16-year-old the same way they parented their 12-year-old. That plan is doomed to failure. Your child is too valuable to fail them now. That's why Mark Gregston wrote Tough Guys and Drama Queens, to help parents understand the changing world of today's teens and how parents can meet the unique challenges facing their children this day and age. Tough Guys and Drama Queens is both a hard-hitting look at what makes modern teens different from any generation that's come before, and practical advice to help parents overcome today's hurdles and retain a relationship with their teens that will last into their adult years. With spiritual truth, practical insights, and proven techniques, Tough Guys and Drama Queens is a book that belongs in every parent's library. Get your copy at parentingteenresources.org.
Is one of the challenges for us as parents that we maybe are a little embarrassed that our kids are the ones who got lost? You know, maybe we've had this model family, and all of a sudden things have gone awry.
Absolutely, and it's a little bit of both. I mean, instead of looking at your child saying, why are you so incapable of following directions? Perhaps we should look at the log in our own eye and ask this: why are we so incapable of giving good directions, during this landscape that's changed? Perhaps it's not about them. Perhaps we did make a mistake. And more chances than not, it is this. It is both and. Kids will always get lost unless somebody's there to help them along. They will always take a different, path because maybe they just got curious and wanted to see, well, what does it look like down this road?
That's only natural, isn't it?
That's right. What does it look like down this road? And so they go off in these different directions. And so we as parents have got to assume responsibility for perhaps we did not tell them everything that is out there, so that when they encounter something that is a challenge, that instead of shaming them for not following what we said, we walk alongside them and go, you know what? Stay right there. Let me find out a good path back. Hey, I tell you what, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Hey, just stay right where you are. Tell me where you are, and I'll be there real quick, and I'll get there to you.
I've done that. Haven't you done that?
Oh, I have.
Physically speaking?
I have. My son goes, I'm lost. And I go, but I know you've been lost for a long time. Let me help you out here. But, and this is all a kind of a word picture that describes adolescence. But the nature of adolescence is full of curiosity, full of wrong turns, full of going the wrong direction, and it's full of opportunities for parents to give the wrong directions, not knowing what the landscape is.
All right, so when they phone home, so to speak, and say, I am lost, and it's this word picture we're talking here, do we just simply say, well, hope you can find your way eventually?
Yeah, and how shameful is that? Well, find your way back home. And dads used to say this: you got yourself there, you can get yourself back.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Instead of maybe looking at your child and saying this: are you safe? Is everything okay? If everything's okay, stay put, I can help you. What do you see? Let me see if I can help you. It's offering something to a child. Now you may have given perfect directions, and they got lost. But instead of shaming them, be graceful with them and offer them something, a path back home. Because the tendency is you get a child that's lost, that doesn't know how to get back home. They will stay where they are and grow comfortable in their lostness.
Can we confuse lostness with rebellion?
Oh, I think you can from a symptom standpoint. I mean, you can look at a child, one is lost in displaying behavior that they're overreacting to not knowing what to do, and another child is totally intentional about ending up at a place just because they're being rebellious. But they are two totally different people. And I got to tell you this, the number of lost kids that I see is far greater and far outweighs the number of rebellious kids that I've seen.
But we misread that, don't we?
We misread it. We've had 2,500 kids live with us over the past 30 years. I have met a handful, 10 at best, that I would say are really rebellious.
Really?
I think most of them are lost. They don't know where to go, or they haven't been prepared to take a hold of that map and unfold it in a way that they can follow and get to a good place. And so they are struggling with how to do it on their own.
Thanks for listening to Parenting Today's Teens. For more information, visit parentingtodaysteens.org. And to learn more about Heartlight, visit heartlightministries.org. If this podcast has been helpful to your family, please share it or give us a quick rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Of course, you can listen to Parenting Today's Teens wherever you listen to podcasts. Join us tomorrow for another great episode. We'll talk to you then.